and welcome. This is Justified Jewel Podcast, and I'm your host, Joanne Cox. Here on Justified Jewel Podcast, we go over many topics. We go over things from spirituality to physical, emotional, and well-being. We're wanting to reach people in every area, in every aspect of your life. And I know that you will get something out of this particular show. I would like to give you a little bit more information about me. I can be located at Joanne Cox website, justifiedjewel.com. I am a motivational speaker, keynote speaker, as well as a life coach. So do tune in and welcome again to Justified Jewel Podcast. And today we have a very special guest. And I use that term not lightly because she's very dear to me in heart. And I've said before, I only invite people over to Justified Jewel Podcast that have integrity and good character. So you're going to learn something. So pick up your pen and paper and get ready, because this introduction I will read because I want to get it right. This is Nehal Tanna. Nehal has been a keynote speaker in various settings within and outside North Carolina. Nehal is a Toastmaster of the Year 2020 and Area Director of the Year 2019, Jedi Master Fame. Nehal Tanna is Vice President, Global Talent and Diversity and Inclusion at Bank of America, headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. Nehal joined Toastmasters in 2016 and has achieved 2 distinguished Toastmasters Award as of 2020, which is the highest Toastmasters award. Nehal is a state champion for speaking contest for 2021. That says a lot. And I'd like to say, welcome, Nehal. How are you today?
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to explore today's topic and share what my experiences are.
Yes, and this month of July, we're going to be going over momentum. But we want to get started with Nehal. How do you define momentum?
That is a great question. Now, while you will be able to find various definitions on Google, on internet, we all have our own definition of words. Momentum means being able to go forward. Momentum also means, especially according to me, that you just keep going even when you feel like you would rather quit. So momentum is something that you get into the habit of taking active step, one step at a time, in any situation or emotion that you're going through. It's what momentum is. Back to you.
Okay. Well, we need momentum in so many different situations, whether it's work or home life, and there are so many challenges that we have. So how can I create momentum?
It is a very simple process. And just know that the process that I am going to share is what I have used, experienced, and successfully been able to have a continuous momentum. However, you may have your own version of type or creating momentum as your guide. But being able to build momentum for me is the first step you do is set a schedule. When you set a schedule, it's not because you just want to have your schedule full or make your calendar look pretty and full and you want to feel busy. We are human. We are used to being in a habit. So having a schedule, you're able to build a habit consistently. Now, building a habit does 2 things. One, that you have the next step always listed is what you're going to do next, and you have a set schedule and you're able to follow it. And one day, after doing it several times, you'll get it into the habit of it. And creating a habit, it reduces stress because then you know what you're going to do next, how you're going to do it, and what all is needed prior to getting into the next step. So the very first thing I would recommend is to set a routine, set a schedule. Now, do remember, when you begin with this process, this first step to set a schedule, you probably would not be able to be consistent every single day. Say, for example, I recently started yoga. I decided to go do yoga every morning, very first thing in the morning. Was I able to do it every single day when I began? No. There were days when I didn't want to do it. There were days when I just didn't want to move or get out of the bed. But it's one step at a time, meaning that you are going to do what you decided regardless. So there were days when I did yoga for full 60 minutes. And there were days when I just did it for 10 minutes. But what counts is that I continued the momentum or the practice, even when I felt like I want to quit and not do it at all. So that is momentum. So setting a schedule. Second thing I would say is focus on one goal at a time. Now, before coronavirus pandemic came to all of us, I used to be a person, I would have had multiple goals aligned and I'm working on it in the parallel. And that can be stressful. And that could be a time when you just lose momentum to an extent that you would just not want to work on any of those, forget about one of those. Because it's the feeling of overwhelm because you're just doing so many things at a time. So when you feel that you are almost giving up or losing your momentum, or you feel like you are just going to take a break, might as well, out of the 10 things that you plan in your schedule in step 1, just do 1 or 2 of the things that is doable. Sometimes it is okay to not complete the entire cycle, entire schedule, or entire goal.
Yes.
Sometimes waking up and showing up is just enough. You have to give yourself the permission to do that. And lastly, I would say, celebrate every success. And I'm just preaching for this point. I am not good at all. I'm constantly practicing. Because by the time my first goal is over and I have the victory or I've achieved my goal, I'm already working on the second goal in the parallel. So I've already reached the halfway through or somewhere in the second goal. So once the first goal is done, I'm on to the second one and on to the third one, and then what's next? And I forget to take a moment to feel that I've achieved the goal, to thank the universe for aligning the stars and helping me reach there. And just to take a moment to thank my body and my soul who supported me to achieve that goal. It could be the smallest of the goal to wake up every day 15 minutes earlier than I did yesterday. It's still a goal. And it still requires your mind and soul to actively participate and give you permission to do so. So quick review, set a goal, make sure that you focus on one step at a time. And last but not least, remember to celebrate every success, small or big. Back to you.
Wow. I love that summarization. And I was writing those things down. So I suggested to the viewers that they get out paper so that they could take notes. And this is what I want to still recap before we continue. But it was about rituals, doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Celebrate the small wins and don't forget to just sit in it, to just sit in it and bask in what you've actually done. Don't beat yourself up. And you heard what she said. There are times when you're not going to be able to do that. And it's okay. It's the beginning. And you're going to reconstruct all these things so that you get back on the bicycle and you start again. Now, Nehal, if you can change it in any way, but I believe you've already answered the next question, and that was about sustaining the momentum. Would you like to elaborate even more on that?
Sure. So getting the momentum or beginning with the momentum is easy because every time any human is starting a new project or something new or new goal, we start with motivation. We are all rush energy. I'm ready for it. I'm going to strike it. And then comes the momentum. And that time motivation and momentum are going parallel. The force is really nice and we start really tough and good going and in a force. And we just, the flight just takes off. But once the airplane takes off, you have to balance it until you're ready to land or reach the goal. And that balancing act is very important. Motivation only helps to begin or to take off your flight. Momentum accompanies while you're taking off your flight. But in order to sustain and reach your goal until the end, you have to be able to sustain your momentum. There would be times when you would just not want to do it. I'll give you an example. When I came to this country and started college, I wanted to finish a 4-year degree in 2 years with a 4.0 and leading 4 student organizations as a president. That was my goal. Now, there was a time after the first semester, when I had to take a class for chemistry. Now, if you talk about physics or math or computer, I got this. It's like my sweet spot. If you talk about biology, I am very nervous because I cannot even pronounce the word, forget about spelling them. They're like, it's like a different language to me. And then chemistry, oh my God, I feel like I'm learning alphabets with numbers all over again, which probably I would hardly use something in my day-to-day life.
Yes.
Chemistry was not my favorite subject. However, I had to make sure that I get an A to be able to keep a 4.0 and graduate with a 4.0. During that chemistry class, I used to drag myself to the class. And when you're in the university, I'm sure most of you know that there's an option for you to drop the class within certain time frame so that you can get your tuition back, you're not getting a drop of a bad grade in your transcript, and you can retake the class at another time. There was not enough numbers of time when that thought had crossed my mind. Every time I had to go to the practical, the lab room, and the theory, I'd be like, I think I should just give it in today. I think I should just drop out. And my mind used to try to talk me down, and I was almost getting ready for it. And each day that happened, there was one technique that I used that my mom taught me. I had to remind myself by asking a question. Why did I start to begin with? What was my why to want to do 4 years degree in 2 years and having a goal of a 4.0? I mean, do you think if I got a 3.9, would I not get a good job? Not necessarily. Do you think if I did, instead of 2 years, if I did it in 2.5 years, would the country ask me to leave this country and go back home? No, not necessarily, because I had the student visa until a certain time. So I had time in my hand. So I had to remind myself, what was my why for setting that goal at the first place? And now when I'm wanting to turn back, what is the why at that time? And every time when you adjust your mindset by reminding yourself of what is your why as to why did you start or why did you set this goal for yourself, it's going to bring you back to the balanced place where you and your soul will tell you that you can just get through this. It's one day at a time, going back, one goal at a time, one day at a time. So except for any other, like all of my other classes are going great, except for chemistry. For me to be able to reach A, I used to take one day at a time. I never used to think, what am I going to do tomorrow in the class? Do I have to go again for the classes? Nothing. Just today's class, focus on today, note down the questions, and then try to review and see what I don't understand, and then reach out to the professor. One day at a time. Ask yourself, what is your why? Why did you start? And take small steps, one day at a time, one chapter at a time, one lesson at a time, waking up one day at a time for 10 minutes. Don't think of if you were going to be able to get up tomorrow again. Deal with it when you get there. It's like a saying in American English that says, cross that bridge when you get there.
Yes,
so just like that, cross it when you get there. Right now, learn and focus being in present. Taking small steps would actually help you do that. And lastly, it is very important for you to be honest with yourself. If you're not feeling like doing something, if you feel like, oh my goodness, why do I have to do this? Say it back to yourself. Have a self-talk, because self-evaluation or self-check is very necessary. You have to know how you're feeling. You have to acknowledge how you're feeling. That way, your heart or your soul would give you permission to move past that, because you already acknowledge that I'm dragging myself out of bed to go to that class. I do not like that class. I am struggling in that class. Just say it out loud to yourself and then try to take the next step to see how you can come out of that. Maybe half a step, maybe 1/4 of a step. It is okay. It is absolutely okay. So in a summary, when you're trying, when you got a hold of momentum and you're trying to sustain in between the time before you reaching the goal and before after you starting the momentum or your journey, is remembering why you started, taking small steps at a time, and being honest with yourself while you do the self-check and acknowledge your feelings. Back to you.
Oh, this young lady is just absolutely fabulous. This is something that we can use in every aspect of our lives. And I'm so glad it's a podcast that it's taping. So this way you can look at this and pull this up anytime you're ready. But guess what? She has more information for us. Now, how does this work in the workplace? Momentum needs to take place wherever we are. But now you are an employee. How can we get the momentum and keep the momentum?
That is such a great question, Joanne. I'm really thankful that you asked me that, because I believe whatever you learn, you have to be able to put it into the practice. Otherwise, there's no point learning. So when I was in college, I thought that college has exams. But once I start working, guess what? There are no tests, no exam taking, no projects, nothing to do. Just go to work, dress up, and do the work, talk to your colleagues, and come back home. And very soon after I joined the workforce, my dream was shattered, and I came back to reality that that is not how it is. In fact, when you work, you have to, it's like taking exam every single day.
Yes.
And when you have to test every single day in a directly or an indirect way by proving your work and deliverables, it is easy to not be able to sustain momentum. In addition, don't forget, at work, you deal with humans. And when they're humans, there are personalities. And when there are personalities, there can be a match or a mismatch, but we don't get to choose our colleagues or our peers. So that is another aspect. And lastly, while you work, you also deal with technology. So that means you also have a technology glitch that can break your momentum. So it's a personality, it's a technology, it could be traffic during your commute, it could be waking up on the wrong side of the bed, it could be just having to attend a meeting, which could actually be an email. And there's so many more things. These are some of the things that actually can get your momentum down and then can make you feel just forget about it. And I have had those days, I won't lie. And something that I consistently used during this time was very first thing was setting up a schedule. Every single day when I'm ending my work day, like literally after I end my work day, which is usually more than 12 hours, I take 15 minutes to look back to what I have accomplished today. It's in a way to give myself a pat on the back, because remember, you don't want to wait for anybody else's appreciation. You should be enough to do the self-check and be honest to yourself, as well as appreciating yourself for acknowledging how great you've done. So that way you're never disappointed. So I give myself enough credit for whatever I was able to accomplish. And I make a schedule for the next day. I make a schedule where I have certain hours where I have high energy. I'm a morning person. As soon as I wake up, I can just go running and finish everything right away. It's that how energetic I feel when I wake up. As the day goes down, and if it's night, I kind of try to feel less energetic or low in energy. So I try to put some task in such a way that I'm getting it done before other humans wake up. and they have their task that they want me to acknowledge or approve. So basically I'm helping them, or I'm completing their task for them. So whatever way it works, this is just my way of setting up a schedule. The point here is you appreciate yourself, you give yourself applause before ending your day, and then set up the schedule for your next day.
Exactly.
And then second thing is the second step, or the second suggestion that I would share, that I am not very well following, but I'm trying to focus on that nowadays, is taking 5 minutes every 2 hours for yourself while you're working. It could be either you just get up from your office or your seat and go to the ladies' room. It could be you just get up from your seat and go to fill the water. It could just that you turn your back towards the computer and just look out on the other side, even if there are other humans or desk or window, whatever works for you.
Yes.
Just have a change of the view and let your mind get out of what you were doing and wander around. Now, 5 minutes can be extended to 15, depending on how critical your work was. If you're stuck in database or Microsoft Excel sheets all day long in between a lot of data, you might need a longer break. But remember to re-energize your brain every 2 hours. Guess what? Even if you don't energize yourself, and even if you work 12 hours straight, which is what I had been doing for long years, nobody cares. When you return after the 15-minute break, the same work, the same emails, and the same people demanding the work will still be there waiting for you. They're not going away. And if they go away, it wasn't urgent. So again, as a summary, remember to set your schedule the day before or night before. Remember to applaud yourself for the entire day worth of work and momentum and focus that you kept up. And lastly, remember to take a mental break. I cannot stress enough. I have suffered because of that, because I did not give enough importance to my mental health. And I stress enough to say, remember to take mental breaks. Back to you.
Wow, this is just so fabulous. She has done all the recapping, which I would do, but I don't need to because she's done that for me. This is life-changing, and this is what we want to hear. We want to change our lives for self-improvement, and you've given us all of this wonderful information. And I myself, at this age, am still looking for things to improve myself. And as they say, education is never out for the pros. And if you want to continue to grow, you have to incorporate new ways of doing things. And the thing is, we do learn from our mistakes. And if we don't, we need to get out of that rut and understand that this is where we need to be going, and to always be focused ahead and on ourselves for ourselves. Again, I would like to thank Nehal for being here for my guest today. And I would like, before we end this segment, tell us how they can reach out to you and find you. She's a fabulous speaker, as she's just proved, a great orator. How can they get in contact with you, Nehal?
Thank you, Joanne. Being a part of Justified Well podcast has been a pleasure and an honor. As you know, you and Justified Well is very close to my heart. So thank you so much for this opportunity. If you ever want to reach out to me to connect with me to learn more, or have me as your guest speaker, keynote speaker, or even as your trainer, facilitator, or moderator, or be a part of your panel, you can definitely reach me on LinkedIn with Nehal Tanna. I'll spell it for you. It's Nehal is my first name. Last name is Tanna, T as in Tom, A-N-N-A. And you can reach me via email at nehaltanna, one word, at hotmail.com. It's nehaltanna@hotmail.com. Thank you. Back to you.
And thank you. And thank you for spelling that out. It is at the bottom of our screen so that we can see the correct spelling of her name. And I know that they're going to be reaching out for you. I thank you again for being here. And I hope to be on the same platform with you. What terrific. Oh, that would be just mind blowing for me. So again, thank you for viewing with us today. And we look forward for you to come back for our next episode. But today it was about momentum. Thank you again.